Hey there, awesome folks. This is Mentor Shelley, wanting to make sure that you become a better version of yourself professionally. So y'all, apparently I did a live on Friday talking about, just the employer's view of what it is that they think overemployment is. And apparently now there's other CEOs and business leaders that, number one, are misrepresenting what overemployment is and what they think it should be versus what it actually is. I want to make sure you guys are aware of what it actually is. Let's define overemployment, because apparently a lot of these people a lot of these CEOs, they have such huge opinions about what it is and what they think it is. And now this article just completely throws off what it is. So since they need a definition, so a condition, let me make sure I have it here, a condition in which the demand for labor in a country or region exceeds the available supply, overemployment caused by an inadequacy of labor and other resources compared with all the work needed. Overemployment definition, according to Webster's dictionary, says, excessive employment or use. So what that means, folks, is that, let's get back to this article, because meaning that you have more than one job. That means, folks, that you're not, the definition of it now, there's some people that, of course, take this to a whole nother level and do the foolishness where they're slacking off on one job and not and focusing on one but not doing the other. If you're overemployed, you have the understanding that you have job duties for both jobs and you need to meet them, and you need to make sure that you are handling your business as far as meetings, as far as outcomes, as far as taking care of both sets of responsibilities. That's the whole point of being overemployed. So now that we've established the definition, let's dig into this article that was written and posted on the Business Insider by Hannah Tilley on October 15th, which was only a couple of days ago. Because the more I read these articles, or the more I hear that these CEOs are so out of touch with people, or seem to be so out of touch with people trying to better themselves. Literally, people are trying to better themselves. The reason people do overemployment in the first place, folks, is that they are saving up to take care of something big, like make a big purchase, or they may be getting out of debt because, if they don't qualify for the student loan relief that's going on right now. By the way, guys, please go to studentaid.gov if you have not done so already. If you do qualify for either one or both of the qualifications, listen to me. Nobody's going to hand $20,000 to you. So go ahead and take care of that right now. Now, listen, I want to make sure, guys, that yes, everybody has this buzzword. Overemployment is a buzzword these days, but it's not a buzzword for you to misconstrue, to misrepresent. And unfortunately, a lot of these CEOs or these leaders, they make the assumption that overemployment is a bad thing when they're misrepresenting what it actually is. We're going to see exactly that in this article. So it says, Home Tech CEO calls overemployment trend a new form of theft and deception after firing 2 engineers secretly working multiple full-time jobs at once. First of all, that's ludicrous and it is incorrect. I already went through the definition of what overemployment is, so let's jump into this. In a viral post discovered by the first engineer was first engineer was secretly working another full-time job after 2.5 months of poor performance, the CEO, David Bell, said. Now that's not good. Now, what are the tenets that I always talk about in overemployment, folks? I'm always telling you, make sure you're handling both sets of responsibilities. That's why you do time blocks and make sure that For this set period of time, you're handling responsibilities for job 1. Between this time and this time, you're handling responsibilities for job number 2. The whole point of having 2 jobs is to be able to handle the responsibilities of both jobs, not slack. Now, this person, these folks, these engineers were not handling their responsibilities. Their performance was showing that they had other things going on, which is why they noticed it in the first place. This is not the proper way to handle overemployment, folks. If you're overemployed, you know that you have double the responsibilities, so you're supposed to handle them accordingly. Now let's get into this. A LinkedIn post shared by Canopy CEO David Bell is sparking controversy for shedding light on the growing trend of overemployment or secretly working 2 jobs at once. The post went viral Friday after Bell said Canopy, a mid-sized software company in Utah, recently fired 2 engineers who were secretly working 2 full-time jobs simultaneously. Overemployment has soared during the pandemic, with some saying it allows them to make up to $600,000 a year during a period of record inflation and soaring housing costs. According to the CEO, to me, this isn't some fun new social trend. No, it is not. And people that take overemployment seriously don't take it as that, nor do they operate in that, Mr. Bell. So you're talking based out of a lot of assumptions here. Let's just start there. Bell wrote in the post, "It's a new form of theft and deception, incorrect, and not something which an ethical, honest person would participate. Number 1, you're prejudging something because you don't understand the definition, Mr. Bell. And number 2, that may have been the person that you fired may not have understood what real overemployment is, but do not make the mistake of assuming your experience defines the entire premise of overemployment." So I'm going to straight up tell you you're incorrect and you're wrong for making that assumption. And I would expect somebody as intelligent as you to have a better stance on the entire movement of overemployment. The post was prompted, of course it prompted backlash. The post prompted backlash from several corners of the internet, including the subreddit anti-work, with some users saying that tech CEO like Jack Dorsey and Elon Musk were lauded for working. Yes, actually, they were applauded. Thank you for saying that. They were lauded for working at multiple companies at once, while regular workers were punished for it. Double standard there. Others speculated that the engineers may have been working 2 jobs to make ends meet. You never know what people are doing. In an interview with Insider, Bell said that the comments along with these lines mischaracterized his company's situation. No, they didn't mischaracterize it. You mischaracterized what overemployment is. Now, the employees, what they should have done is handled their business so there would have not been a performance issue in the first place. Because if you're following the tenets of being overemployed, you're supposed to be handling both sets of responsibilities, not simultaneously, but in time blocks like you're supposed to do, to make sure you're functioning properly with your time. Now, mischaracterized this company situation, adding that one person upset by the post even called his cell phone. They hope the CEO dies in a car crash. Now that's going a little bit too far, folks. Let's not get ridiculous here. Now, whoever did that was absolutely not necessary. That's arbitrary and capricious. I know you don't like what he said, but come on, folks. Let's be adults here and not behave like insolent children. Because you don't agree with somebody, you're going to threaten their life. That is arbitrary and capricious. Now, let's continue. Big salary engineers from big tech companies that are coming in to Utah because we now offer this remote work experience and getting employed and not working. No, that's not ideal anywhere, he said. But it's really damaging at a medium or very small tech company. It's damaging to any company that for somebody to get hired and not do their work. One, that's just an employee that has poor performance, whether they're doing overemployment or not. And overemployment is not characterized by poor performance. So please, Mr. Bell, make sure you understand what overemployment really is, not what you assume it to be. Now, Bell added that it's not accurate to compare these specific employees to lower income people picking up extra retail or night shifts to pay for necessities like food or clothing. This is someone who works for a really, really large tech company. So you know they're well compensated there, yes, adding that the fired engineers were making between $130,000 to $140,000 a year at Canopy on top of their other full-time jobs. I think it's pretty clear they were just looking for extra stream of income without really doing much work. Number one, you don't know that, but they've shown in their poor performance that that is true for them. That is not the whole tenant, or that is not those aren't the principles those are not the tenets of true overemployment. Because if it was true overemployment, their performance would not be bad. Okay, so here is you see the post here that he had on LinkedIn. You guys can go ahead and look at that for yourselves, of course. Let me see here. Bell said, yes, you can go ahead and review that on your own for yourself. Bell said Canopy discovered the first engineer was secretly working a second full-time job after 2.5 months of poor performance because he wasn't handling his business, which had been flagged by the engineer's teammates. Now you're putting pressure on your team. That's not a good tenet of overemployment. After repeatedly missing meetings and not completing work and keeping their camera constantly off, the employee was called into a meeting with Human Resources to discuss the issues, Bell said. Soon after, the company noticed that the engineer's LinkedIn profile had been changed to private, he added, and that they didn't have Canopy listed as their current job. Uh-oh. Folks, be warned. They are watching everything, including your LinkedIn profile. Where I'm going to do a video about that. If you want to be overemployed and you want to make sure your LinkedIn profile is showing the right thing, there's ways to work around that, folks. But I'm not about to just like how there's businesses out there that can have more than one stream of income, so can an employee. So Mr. Canopy, what is that? There's something wrong with somebody having more than one stream of income? And if they're handling their responsibilities at the job and they're meeting their deadlines and they're handling their responsibilities in the job, I don't think there's anything wrong with overemployment as long as those things are being followed. Now, Mr. Bell said, this is what prompted Canopy to send an employment verification request to the engineer's former employer, which confirmed that they were still working there. Folks, listen. The work number, like what Equifax is using, the employment verification and background screening systems can be used at any time, even after you get hired, if they need to check something because you signed that you will allow the employer to do so, folks. If this person or these two engineers had been handling their business, there would be no need for them to check into stuff, and changing your profile to private on LinkedIn is kind of an indicator that something is going on and they want to know. Although I don't see why that was a big deal in the first place, because it's social media. People can put on there and change it to private however they so choose. But this employer took it personal and wanted to dig deeper. They're slightly nosy, if you ask me. But let's keep going. The second engineer showed similar red flags before they even started the position. Bell said that the HR told the person directly that the company was not okay with dual full-time employment. Why is that? If they're handling both responsibilities for both sets of jobs, and who are you, Mr. Canopy, to be telling grown folks what to do with their time outside of the time that they work for you? What is this with these employers that feel like they can just tell people what to do? And it's not grown people that choose to work for your organization are not your slaves. Stop trying to control people. This absolutely rubs me the wrong way as a professional. Yes, I am in HR, but what did I say before? The tenets of overemployment is this: you're handling the responsibilities from both jobs. And if you're doing that and you have your performance is on point with both jobs, I don't see that there's a problem with that. And the fact that you felt the need to say you have a problem with somebody having 2 full-time jobs, that is your personal problem, and that should not filter over into what the person does for you as a job. Though these people are not your children. So, of course, an employment verification request soon confirmed HR's hunch was correct despite the engineer's initial denial. Yes, they're going to, unfortunately, first of all, I probably would have been more upfront with it. But the fact that they denied it is because this is Mr. Canopy's mindset in regards to overemployment. You assume people are lazy. You assume people are not doing what they're supposed to do when they're taking care of they're doing the job. Now, these two engineers didn't do that. Their performance suffered, which is why they ended up all this investigation and employment verification had to take place in the first place. Both employees fessed up to the ruse after they were confronted with proof, the CEO told Insider, because they didn't handle their business in the first place. Bell said he believed holding two synchronous 9-to-5 positions was different from having a side hustle or moonlighting. No, it is not. The difference is literally the difference between moonlighting and overemployment is that moonlighting may take place in different locations and you're doing both jobs at home. That's literally the difference, because if you're moonlighting, you're doing double duty. You're handling the responsibilities of both jobs. There is no difference except for location. That is it. Adding that many employees at Canopy had multiple passive income streams or passion projects. Yes. So what is the problem with overemployment? Because you keep misdefining it. The CEO himself is a startup angel investor. Exactly. So what? Because you're an angel investor, nobody else can hustle and do what they need to do? The CEO himself was a startup angel investor. A gig, he said, took about an hour a month. Nice for you. Some view overemployment as an active protest against capitalist systems that exploit workers, an argument that Bell said was a bigger thing than his company. Yeah, Mr. Bell, but you just came out your mouth in the last line before that, talking about, you believe that holding two synchronous 9-to-5 positions was different from having a side hustle or moonlighting. And you also said, Mr. Bell, let me see here. You specifically said that, what was it? Let me make sure that having two full-time positions is not okay with you. Nobody was asking for your permission. I'm very flabbergasted by the fact that these CEOs feel like grown people need to have their permission to work a second job. That's like getting to the heart of the Western capitalism, he told Insider. When you're doing that, you're taking your job away from someone else. No, you're also hurting the people who you're working with because they're responsible for deliverables and they end up working more. Number one, I am going to say this. This is the end of the article. I'm going to say this. When it comes to overemployment, a lot of these CEOs misunderstand its definition. It is moonlighting. It's just a new word for moonlighting. The difference is that when you're moonlighting in different locations. You have to drive to the location to work. And some people do have two full-time jobs. They work overnight one place and they work full-time in the days. The difference is, in the overemployment space, they're doing it from home. That's the only difference. Now, the two engineers that you terminated, they didn't handle their business properly. I just want to make sure that a lot of these CEOs have this whole overemployment thing humpback and crooked. There are a few examples of people that didn't handle their business properly, which is why they ended up, the employers got wind of it and was very forthcoming. And after a while, they got forthcoming and they weren't handling their business properly. However, whoever is doing overemployment and handling their business, CEOs like you, Mr. Mr. Canopy, Mr. Bell should not have such a huge issue with people working two jobs. If they are handling their responsibilities with the job at your company, you should not be concerned or be nosy enough to go find out something else. Now, if they're performing poorly, then you definitely do the documents and discipline and you you do PIPs and what needs to be done accordingly with your HR team. I have no problem with that. If they're not performing well, then that's something entirely different. But tagging that and lumping those two employees into the whole overemployment situation is arbitrary. And it's actually very narrow-minded of you when you look at the whole movement of overemployment. It is not what those two employees display. So, on that note, I want to make sure that everyone here is able to become a better version of themselves professionally. And what you should look at is, yes, those two employees were not great examples, because that's not really the overemployment that we talk about on this channel. The overemployment we talk about on this channel is about employees or people handling responsibilities for not one but two jobs, and handling it with precision and with strategy. And of course, if you guys want to get overemployed and you're looking different areas, whether it be how your references come up, what your LinkedIn profile should look like, things of that nature, I do have, and of course, career strategy in general, I do have those consultations available. You can go to mentorshelley.com/consultations. I'm more than happy to help you get ready to become overemployed if that's what you choose, as long as you're handling your responsibilities and you can handle the responsibilities for both jobs. Guys, I want you all to become a better version of yourself professionally and be able to handle what comes with improving your economic life. And overemployment is one way people can do that. So I do not have an issue as long as you're handling your business appropriately. Guys, if you have questions in regards to this, go ahead and leave a comment below. A lot of these employers, a lot of these CEOs, a lot of these leaders have overemployment misrepresented, and they have one impression when it really is not that. All right, guys, take care. This is Mentor Shelley, wanting to make sure that you become a better version of yourself professionally. And no matter what people's opinions are of overemployment, it is here to stay. And as long as you handle your responsibilities with each job, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And dadgone it, we're grown. We don't need permission from employers to do anything other than handle the business that I signed up to do. All right, guys, take care. You have a good one. Bye.